Farming Academy. Today we'll be discussing one of the biggest challenges that pig farmers face in their farm. In many pig farms, feed cost accounts for 70 to 80% of production. 70 to 80% of production costs. So if you can be able to control the feeding aspect, you can be able to maximize your profit. So in today's live section, I'll be talking about this feeding aspect as a whole. So guys, please let me know where you are joining from, okay? And equally comment in the comment section so that we can continue. Today's live session is going to be more interactive, not a lecture, it's a discussion, okay? Yes. Okay. Let me get the mic on. Okay. So I remember one time ago, about last 2 years, when I made the budget to go and restock the feed for my animals, PKC in particular. So it happened that the money I planned to buy this to use to buy this 1 ton of PKC, 20 bags, happened to increase, like the price increased times two unexpectedly. And it wasn't even long. The gap between the previous one I bought to this current one was even long. So what caused this increase in price? That was because there was an increase in demand at the time. So all these things were lessons I learned when I was still starting up. So I'm going to show you how to be able to reduce this cost factor and be able to maximize your profits in the pig farming business. So guys, I'm still waiting for your comments, okay? So when it comes to the feeding aspect, the major things I make use of is the PKC, that's the palm kernel cake, the cassava, the bambara nut chaff, maize, blood meal, bone meal. These are the major components of my feed. But to be able to reduce the cost of feeding these animals, I had to do something very, very special. I had to go ahead and plant some of these crops. I had to plant cassava, I had to plant maize, I had to plant vegetables like pumpkin, water leaf, and all these things help me to reduce the cost of feeding these pigs. Also, when I get the droppings of my pigs, I don't just discard them or use them to grow crops. No, I had to keep them in a comfortable environment that will make humidity moderate for maggots to grow. So when this maggot comes out, I'm able to process it and equally use it to feed my fish and then equally supply them to my pigs because it's a very, very good source of protein. So guys, these are some of the techniques, these are some of the strategies that you should employ in order to reduce the cost of feeding your animals, make profits. So if your feeding factor chops all your profits, running around a circle. So for you to become a successful pig farmer, you need to understand the principles involved that will help you to be able to maximize your profit. You need to don't buy everything from the market. Try as much as possible in that your farm to raise some crops that will enable you to reduce the cost of feeding these animals. Plant crops like cassava. In my farm, I have cassava, I have corn, I have plantain. Plant a lot of plantains in your farm because it's a very, very good source of nutrients to animals. Plant water leaf, plant pumpkin. I can mention them all. Also, when it comes to this PKC, the bambara nut chaff is also a very good source of protein. I don't know if you can find it in your location. Bambara nut chaff, it is called Otsoba in Nigeria by the Igbo people. So these are the components of my pig feed. The major reason why I make use of this is one, I can be able to find them in big quantities. And also it's relatively cheap as compared to the industrial feed. I prefer to make my own feed. I prefer to make my own feed as it gives me the confidence to be like, oh, I actually know what I used in these ingredients. That is one of the benefits of making your own feed yourself. Because when you make your own feed, you be like, yes, I'm sure I used corn, I'm sure I used cassava. I'm sure I used this as against the ones that industries produce that you can't even account for what they actually contain, except relying on what was written on it. Okay. So once you're a pig farmer and you want to become profitable, try as much as possible to make your own feed yourself. Formulate, bring the components, bring the carbohydrate, bring the protein, bring the fat and oil, you bring all the nutrients required, even some supplements, and then add to it yourself. Equally remember to add bone meals, blood meals, and all of that. Okay. So that is the major strategy to becoming a successful pig farmer. Make sure that your feed cost doesn't chop into your profit. And then while trying to equally manipulate this feeding aspect, make sure that you are feeding the animals with something nutritious, okay? Because one mistake that people must make is they are trying to reduce the cost, then thereby now feeding the animal something that doesn't meet up to their nutritional requirements. Let me tell you something. Pigs do not care about how much you spend on their feed. What they need is just to make sure that that feed actually meets up to their nutritional requirements. Let's say, for instance, someone goes out maybe to a very expensive place and buys a good source of protein for them. And I myself, with my small money, just go to a local market and be able to get blood meal, bambara nut chaff, soybeans, all these cheap source of protein. If I feed them to my pigs, they will still do well. So pigs do not care about how expensive their feed is. What they need is to make sure that that feed meets up to their nutritional requirements. So I'm going to advise you as a fellow pig farmer that you should make sure that the feed you give to your pigs is nutritional. Okay, it doesn't have to be expensive. No, go out to your local market, source out for feed. What you should use to consider the feeding aspect is one, its availability. Not just its availability, its consistency. If you can keep on getting this component over and over again, because this pig farming journey is a long-term journey. Okay, so when you get to the local market, check for the sources of protein, sources of carbohydrates. Then ask yourself, is this thing consistent? Can I actually keep on getting this at a comfortable price? So when you consider these factors, then you can now sit down and then get out your feed. Like I mentioned, I make use of PKC, the dry PKC, which I soak a day to day of feed the animals. The second one is the cassava, the processed cassava. The third one is bambara nut chaff. Then soybeans, which is processed. I cook the soybeans and then grind it too for the pigs. Then I could make use of bone meal, blood meal with a pinch of salt. Then I could add sometimes I add some nutritional components. Then when it comes to all these processed maggots, because when I get the maggots out from the droppings of these my pigs, I process it by washing it and then drying it to heat it, by which I can now take out a fraction of it and then add to their feed, which is probably a good source of protein. Then the vegetables like the pumpkin, the water leaf, the dried pawpaw, all these things are good source of vitamins for them. So when you're able to plant all these things in your farm, not just really give it to the bees, you yourself will benefit also because you equally need to eat. Okay. So guys, this is very important. I believe that you have been able to understand how to reduce the cost of feeding your animals. How to reduce the cost of feeding your animals. Okay. So avoid spending unnecessarily when it comes to the feeding factor, but rather make sure that the feed you are buying is it contains the nutritional requirement that your pigs require. Okay, because that is the main purpose. It's not about spending too much money, but to get the nutritional requirements. Okay, guys, there is something important I want to let you all know. Like I said previously in my previous videos, that I've been working on a book that is not just a big technical manual. No, it's a book that contains my real life experiences in the pig farming journey, the challenges I've faced, and the strategies I used in order to defeat these challenges in the pig farming world. I'm done with this book and I'm going to let you know once it's ready for purchase. Okay. So guys, but before that, I'm going to be dropping a link in the description box of this video. Scroll down and then join this WhatsApp group. The purpose of you joining this WhatsApp group is that it contains a lot of pig farmers from different regions of the world, not just pig farmers from different regions of the world, but pig farmers that are experienced. So join this WhatsApp group and then benefit from the knowledge that these pig farmers have to share. Like I said, pig farming is a journey of self-discovery. in the pig farming world, you get to learn a lot of things, both in the breeding sector, in the feeding sector, in a lot of sectors. I'm going to dissect all this in my book. My book taught all these things. So when it's out, I'm going to let you guys know. And please make sure that you make use of the feeding components I talked about, which is the PKC, the Bambara nut chaff, the soybeans, that was then Utoba, then bone meal, blood meal, all these components will help you to reduce the cost of feeding your animals. And equally, remember to plant certain crops in your farm. Okay, guys, please remember to subscribe to this amazing channel and join the WhatsApp group, okay? Thank you very much and God bless you.